AJ, do you need to fill out a thing? Anybody else?
There you go. So just this one?
Oh.
Yes. This is the agenda. You don't want a pen?
No singing tonight, I don't think. So since it's 6 o'clock, we can get started. So thank you all for being here tonight. We will call to order the open session for the board meeting of Monday, June 22nd, 2026 at 6 o'clock p.m. And tonight we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our trustee, Alvarez.
Right. Please stand. To right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. We're grateful to have you here at our second June board meeting of the year. We will start with our superintendent's report from Dr. Chad Hammett. And then after that, we'll move on to Board of Trustee reports, as well as if we have any of our associations with us today.
Thank you so much. Even though we just had a meeting less than a week ago, it's been 6 days now, I do have 3 great things to share. Number one, hot off the presses, all the way from Richmond, Virginia, we have 2 schools which are co-national champions for speech and debate. Amazing. Their points were very similar, and they did an amazing job. So I would really like to congratulate Parks and Fissler as amazing work. Absolutely incredible.
Wow.
In addition to that, we've had so many great summer programs going on. I just want to highlight 2 of them. Number one, we had last week our stage program. And we had 2 plays that our stage program did. They put on the Shrek Jr., and they also had the Finding Nemo Jr. It was a new one, so it was a brand new one for us. So I was at both of them. It's amazing because in 13 days, students put on a full production show. And it's absolutely incredible what students are able to do in 13 days. The number of lines, the songs they have to learn, absolutely amazing. Second thing is I really want to thank all of our staff that have been providing our ESY, which is our extended school year for our students who are on IEPs. Last week, I got to see a therapy dog day. Bubble day is this week, but therapy dogs. They brought in therapy dogs, and all of our students were able to have time and access with the therapy dogs. Great seeing the students. And I do want to really commend the staff because during ESY, unbeknownst to us, the city has been repaving all the streets around Woodcrest. So our staff just did an amazing job working with our parents to ensure that the buses got in and out. We do run 10 buses that come in and out of there every day with students, in addition to making sure that all of our parents and the 150 students that are participating in ESY got to ESY safely and had a great experience. So it's been a great summer. Programs are still ongoing, but I really want to thank staff and everyone for their hard work to make sure that our students are able to have a great summer.
Thank you, Dr. Hammett. Okay, then I think we'll start on my far left with the Berryman, if you want to share any of your report.
Sure, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Here, it's nice to have a half-full place, even though it's summer for some people. As Dr. Hammett talked about, the 13 days before you have to learn all those lines, I don't know how they do it. I have a hard enough time learning 5 lines in a whole 2 months. So I give everybody credit. Thank you for making all of that happen for our students. I know that the arts brings out something in everyone, and we get our little shy ones in there to perform. I think it's amazing and wonderful. Thanks for all of our staff who have been putting so much time and effort into our summer programs, because people feel like summer happens and we're done. But we're really not done, right? We have summer programs going on our schools. We have all of our administrative staff working on how next year is going to start. Everyone here, as you can see, they're here because we're still going on. So I really appreciate that. And speaking of not being able to memorize lines, I wrote down something because I wanted to make sure that I did it. So forgive me for reading, but I wanted to read a statement because I didn't want to forget anything. And so I wanted to acknowledge Dr. Hammett for all of his good work. So before we move forward, I would like to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Chad Hammett, for his extraordinary service over the past 6 months as our acting interim superintendent. I'm not sure if he's going to jump for joy or not, but this is his last meeting where he has to be up here controlling everybody. So I'm sure that it's going to be a little bit more of a relief for him for a little while. Chad stepped into this role during an important time for our district and did so with professionalism, integrity, and an unwavering commitment for our students, staff, and families. Throughout his tenure, he has led with both heart and purpose, always keeping student success at the center of every one of his decisions. What stands out most to me is his ability to connect with people. Chad communicates with compassion, transparency, and respect. During challenging moments for many of our families, he works tirelessly to ensure that they feel informed, supported, and valued. His ability to communicate in Spanish and engage authentically with our diverse community has helped build trust and foster a sense of belonging for so many. I do anticipate Korean coming up next. He's also been a steady and trusted partner to our board and our community stakeholders, whether presenting complex information, navigating difficult decisions, or representing our district with integrity and professionalism. You've earned the confidence and respect of those that you serve. His thoughtfulness approach, strong character, and genuine commitment to our district have been evident in every step of the way. Whether responding to crises, supporting administrators, advancing equity and opportunity for our students, or ensuring our schools remain focused on the success and well-being of every learner, Chad has left with calm confidence, sound judgment, and genuine care. He's shown us what servant leadership actually looks like. Personally, I want to thank you, Chad, for your countless hours, thoughtful leadership, your dedication that you've given to our district over the last 6 months. Your impact continues and will continue to be felt long after this interim period concludes. And I'm deeply grateful for your service, your partnership, and your commitment to the children and families we serve. As you transition back to Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources role that you have served so efficiently and effectively prior to this temporary appointment, I look forward to your continued good work on behalf of our district. And we're fortunate to have you as a leader and continue to support our schools, our employees, and our community. Thank you. The end of my report.
Thank you so much, Bev. That was really appreciated. Thank you for sharing that. Trustee Cho, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you all too. I've been on military duty for the past couple of weeks, so I thank the cabinet and the board for their patience as I was out there and returned. I just want to tell one quick story for a report because it happened while I was gone, which is that prior to me leaving, a outgoing 8th grader from Parks Junior High reached out to me saying, "Hey man, the lunch tables at Parks don't have a spot for kids in wheelchairs to sidle up to. So if you imagine a lunch bench, there's like those 2 benches on the side. And so like the only places that you can really sidle up to are the ends. And depending on how the shade is in the season, you kind of have to go to different tables at different levels at Parks." And he's like, "That's not cool." So we reached out to the district and they're like, "We're on it." And got an email while I was gone saying, "Hey, by the time the school year starts, there will be accessible benches put into Parks." And the reason I tell this story is it was inspiring that an outgoing 8th grader who theoretically did not have to care about Parks at all thought about his school even as he was leaving and then thought about the future generations to come. And I'm inspired by that kind of student leadership, and I'm grateful for the district for helping raise that kind of kid. So thank you to Rob, Mike, Principal Bright for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Trustee Alvarez.
Good evening. For my board report, I wanted to share that after last month's meeting about strengthening the P20 partnerships between Fullerton School District and Fullerton Joint, I actually had a few families reach out to me on my social media page. And they shared about their experiences of transitioning from Fullerton Elementary to the high schools. And some talked about how they had a great experience. Others shared feedback about, we don't see the cohesion between the 2 districts as we transition from middle school to high school, especially those that are transitioning from Ladera Vista to Troy. And I'm glad that families are paying attention to this work that we are leading as a K-8 district. I want to thank Dr. Brown for meeting with Dr. Kaufman and launching the collaborative, right, and being able to see that happen after our board meeting and strengthening our partnerships. I also like to see that Dr. McLaughlin is interested in meeting with us next month. I'll be meeting with him and Dr. Jansen really on this P20 collaborative. And why is it important? The why is that we want to ensure that as students transition from one district to the next, they don't fall through the cracks. And I love to see that we have our Fissler families here to advocate for the needs of their community. We don't always have that in every part of the city. And part of our role as board members is to ensure that we are listening to our families and ensuring that our family has a voice on the board. And we can't do this alone, right? We can't do this work alone. And so I really want to thank Dr. Hammett for connecting with Dr. McLaughlin and really starting that work and seeing that there will be monthly collaboratives that are happening between ed services and quarterly meetings with our district. And I also want to think about the why. As a first-generation college graduate, I navigated this alone. My siblings graduated from Troy, and their transition point into Troy was a really tough landing, actually. They weren't prepared academically as much as we wanted them to be. And so it's so important that we have these systems alignment because not everyone is going to have an older brother who graduated from college. Not everyone is going to have a parent who can pay for tutoring. Not everyone is going to have access to a private counselor that's going to give that resource to a student. And so that's the work that I do as an educator and what I want to continue to do on this board. And so I'm glad to see that we are receiving that positive feedback from our partners. And I want to thank Dr. McLaughlin and Dr. Kaufman for the work that they're doing to continue with us and with Fullerton College. And so I hope that that will continue to strengthen our collaborative. And in terms of other items, I also want to start diving in deeper on technology. A lot of parents have brought up the use of iPads in schools and the use of the screen time, right? And so I think some of the things that we've been thinking about is how we prepare students for academic testing, for state testing, and what we're doing to really monitor screen time, because we are having students utilizing it 40 or 50% of the day, and parents want to see something different, and we want to make sure that that is also included. And so those are some of the things, pieces of feedback that I've gotten since our last board meeting, and just wanted to share those updates and really thank the team here for continuing that collaboration.
Thank you. Jay, hearing many different perspectives and experiences that our board brings and the contributions we all make. I'm sorry I missed last week. I too was gone. It was my only chance with the family to get away on a wonderful trip. So, but I did listen to the YouTube video, so I caught up a little bit. But obviously, a lot of things have happened since the last board meeting I was here. I'd say one of my very favorite roles of being on the school board is absolutely our promotions. They're always so much fun. And I got to attend a 6th grade promotion at Raymond, and I think I shook about 800 junior hires' hands between Ladera Vista and Parks Junior High. But that is always a highlight and one of my favorite parts about being a trustee. I also got to see Shrek. That was amazing to see how our kids can do just incredible work in 13 days, and our staff get such great results out of our very talented kids. I'm excited about our ongoing programs that you mentioned for the summer. I actually get a chance next week to volunteer at Richmond Elementary. I'm excited to be a part of that partnership between our Encore for the summer as well as the Soulful partnership that happens there. And at the end of the month of May, I wanted to share that I attended the grand opening of the Higher Ground event. It was there's a new center that Higher Ground, the nonprofit organization, has opened up at Orangethorpe Park, just next to Orangethorpe Elementary. It's an amazing space that they've especially designed for teenagers. Really cool space, but it also serves our communities, our families throughout the day. And it was really exciting because they do a lot of work in our after-school programming at Orangethorpe as well as Raymond Elementary. They're our partners there, and they've been doing a lot of training and education for many of our junior hires on human trafficking and online safety and safe and healthy relationships. So I was excited to see that partnership grow and their engagement here with our Fullerton families. I wanted to bring up one more issue that some people have reached out to me, and I know in the last couple of days have been on the top of minds for a lot of folks, and that's just some real concerns about the process of the federal government moving out of the Department of Education the support and care for not only our civil rights enforcement of education, but IDEA and the Department of Education has moved special education out of their department, which they're hoping to shut down, and moved it into HHS, Health and Human Services. And I share many people's grave concerns about what this means for the future of special education, the oversight, the care, the funding that was all ensured through the Department of Ed. But I want to very clearly remind our community that we confirm the right of every single child to a free, quality, inclusive public education in the least restrictive environment. It's every child's right. It's a value that we uphold and we will continue to uphold here at FSD. And I know Dr. Coughlin already presented last week on the role that the state has already taken in looking at increasing by 46% the investment in for education for students with disabilities. And I know that I'm really proud of what Fullerton has done in the last few years of making major strides to secure our support for students with disabilities. I know we've gone through, thanks to Julie Brandon's team and others, major revision of the way that we identify students and make sure that we're supporting them at every single level, whether that's first tier instruction, great instruction from day one, but all the way to making sure we're meeting every need that every child might have. And I think that our students with IEPs, our students with 504s, they're scholars and they're students first. They're not medical diagnoses or problems to solve. They are learners. We appreciate them. We are grateful and proud and blessed to have them a part of our community, and we're better because of them. And I think despite the uncertainty, the changes that we might be feeling right now at the federal level, as a district, we are committed, we're firm, and we will continue to strive to do our best to inspire and challenge and grow our learners, all of them. So with that, we've concluded our board reports. So I think we are moving on to any association presentations or reports, if we have any of those to join us today. Do we have any? No? Okay, that's fine. Then we will then move to, let's see, let me make sure I'm on the right page. Yeah, public comments. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, so we're at public comments, which we have a script that I'll read so that we are all under the same understanding of what the expectations are, and that the board meeting follows rules of decorum. Per board bylaw 9323, individual speakers shall be allotted 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board limits the total time for the public input on each item to 20 minutes. The total time allotted for public comments shall be 30 minutes. Public comments about an item that is on the agenda will be heard at the time of the agenda item, as it is considered by the board. But public comments about an item that is not on the posted agenda will be heard at the beginning of open session when called upon by the board president, myself. No action or discussion may take place on an item that is not on the posted agenda except as expressly authorized by law. Since the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent for handling. And board members may request that any item be placed on a future agenda or future discussion. The board president and superintendent will then determine the best time to place an item on the agenda. So persons wishing to address the board are invited to submit a request to speak slip with the executive assistant. So they are in the back with the yellow sign, or you can hand them to our board assistant on the left. And these slips will be available at the entrance of the room. I have a few, most of them I believe are related to our discussion item on the agenda of the Fissler Arc. So I will read those or call those folks when we get to that place in our agenda. Thank you so much. One more. So at this point, I don't believe we have any general public comments. So we will move. Oh, did I say discussion item? Sorry. It is a presentation. We will not be taking action, but when we come to that point in our agenda where we have the presentation, we will hear public comments before that. Okay. So what we're going to do now is move to approving our minutes from our previous meeting, which was on June 16th. So I'm looking for a motion for the approval of those minutes.
I move that we approve the regular minutes for the June 16th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, okay. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes. Great. And next, we will approve the agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as is?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Beth. So all those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
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 Okay, great, that passes. Okay, now we will have our presentations. We'll begin with our LCAP local indicator presentation from our Ed Services team.
I turned it on. Thank you. So good evening, President Hanchett, Board of Trustees, Interim Superintendent Dr. Hammett, and Executive Cabinet. As a part of California's accountability system, districts are annually required to report data of our local indicators on the same day that the LCAP is being board approved. So tonight's presentation is on our local indicators of the California dashboard, and it seems like the slide deck is kind of do its own thing here. Like I can't go that fast.
Fine.
Thank you. When the state indicators are released by CD in the fall, we'll come back to present those results to the board. Let's see here. Okay. So the 8 state priorities can be categorized into 3 different domains: conditions of learning, people outcomes, and engagement. Within these 8 priorities are the local indicators that you see boxed there. Both the local indicators and the state indicators will be reported through the California dashboard. It's scheduled to be released in October. So in the past, it was released like in December, and then they moved it up to November. Now, next year, they're actually going to be releasing the results in October. So we'll be able to share those results to you a little bit sooner than usual. So we'll start with the conditions of learning, which include basic services, state standards, as well as core. So for the first priority, Fullerton School District is 100% compliant in teacher assignments and credentialing, student access to instructional materials, and facilities meeting the good repair standard. Each of these priorities is measured annually through the Williams audit. Included in the dashboard under basic conditions is also the teacher assignment monitoring and outcome data, typically called that the TAMO report. So this does not necessarily, which reports the full-time equivalent status, or what we call FTE. This does not necessarily represent the number of teachers at FSD, since we may have some teachers that are like part-time and make up that one full FTE. The TAMO report also shows the percentage of the FTE assignments that are considered clear. And so when we say clear, it's really just referencing the percentage of full-time equivalent teachers who are fully credentialed. Although all of our hired teachers have a credential, there are some elective classes where EdCode does allow a teacher with special skills and preparation outside of their credential to be assigned to be able to teach that course. And that's why you don't see the 100%, but you can see FSD last year was at 94.5%, while Orange County was at 88.7%, and the state was at 82.5%. So we do have higher percentages compared to the county as well as the state. The second priority within conditions measures the district's progress on the implementation of state standards, with level 1 being at the exploration and research phase, and level 5 at the full implementation and sustainability phase. Each of these measures are determined through our annual LCAP survey of our administrators. Over the past 3 years, our survey results have increased in each of these measures. This is the first year, though, where we're seeing all 5 of those state standards measures at a score of 4 or higher. So that's really nice to be able to see that progress there. And the third priority within the conditions of learning is the district's progress in offering all students access to a broad course of study. In addition to the core content areas, we all know that FSD really goes above and beyond to give students a wide variety of learning opportunities. So the slide that you see here represents just some of the learning opportunities that our students get to experience. Now we'll move on to the parent engagement and school climate section. So we have 3 groups of educational partners that we've surveyed. That would be students, staff, as well as parents and family. So in the next set of slides that you'll see, we're actually just resharing the LCAP survey results, which we presented back in February. But because Ed Code asks that we share this information at the same meeting as when the LCAP is being approved, that's why we're kind of revisiting this again for you. This year we had 420 parents complete the LCAP survey. This table shows the survey results on parent and family engagement, with survey responses based on a scale between 1 and 4, 1 being never and then 4 being all of the time, with a desired score of 3 or higher. In all three categories, relationships, partners, and decision making, there was an increase in the survey results from 2 years ago, with an average score higher than 3. And so some of the examples of some of the questions that we ask in the survey that relate to these three categories would be: the school does a good job partnering with families to ensure the success of students. At this school, I feel comfortable sharing my thoughts, opinions, and feelings. I have opportunities to participate in meaningful decision making at my school. So those are just some of the examples of the survey questions that we ask. Both students and parents were surveyed regarding school climate, and the slide that you see here represents the survey results for our students. So similar to the previous slide, there was an increase in the survey results from 2 years ago, with an average score higher than 3 in academic rigor and safety. Connectedness was at a 2.87, but that is an increase from what it was back in 2023-24, which was at 2.75. Some of the examples of the questions that we asked were: the assignments I do for class help me use my thinking skills. There are adults at my school who care about me, and students are kind to each other at this school. And so these are the results that we share with our LCAP, that we shared with our LCAP advisory committee, which then helps us to kind of inform our decisions in terms of areas that we need to focus on. And for the parents and family survey results, all three categories as well saw an increase from prior years, with scores averaging a 3 or higher. Some of the examples of the questions that were asked within this section was, this is for parents and families: this school has high expectations for my child. There are adults at my school who care about my child, and I feel that my child is safe at this school. And so to conclude, all local indicator data is provided to the state. So we're actually working on that report right now, and we will be submitting that to CDE by the end of the summer. And then those results, along with the state indicators, will then be all summarized in the California Dashboard report that we're looking forward to seeing in October. And at that time, I can answer any questions that the board has.
Thank you, Sung, so much.
Thank you.
So yes, we're not taking action tonight. So do we have questions from the board? I could start us off. Maybe you'll come up with some more. I want to say thank you. I think that especially the progress and the way that we are engaging families, I really celebrate that. And I'm really glad that parents feel like their kids are safe and loved and taken care of when they're at schools with us. I was curious more about the conditions of learning, because it's clear from our surveys, I understand how we come up with that assessment, but how are those measured? It was things like policy and program support, engagement of teachers
Sure.
and admin. How do we know how we're doing?
So that's also through survey results as well. Let me get to that slide.
You said
Sorry.
LCAP.
Yeah, that one.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh.
Like that, right? Yeah, so for example, policy and program. So the question that we want to kind of be thinking about would be: is the district implementing programs to support staff on delivering instruction aligned to the standards? So what are some of the types of programs that we're offering at the district level that supports the schools? So for example, we had our Reflect and Rise like Teacher PD Day. We had that on June the 1st, where we basically asked principals along with their site leadership team to meet together. We had some professional development time where we went over like our math and ELA strategies, but we also gave schools the opportunity to be able to kind of start working on their instructional plans as well. So that would be just one example of the way that the district offers that support.
So are these surveys that are sent to staff primarily?
Specifically for these 5 measures, it's sent to our administrators to fill out. And the reason why is because, for example, when we look at implementation of standards, it's really the principals that that really know exactly what we're doing in terms of that. So this would be like things that are outside of the core content areas. And so not every staff member is knowledgeable of that, but all of our administrators are because they know what that's happening.
So it's a self-assessment by our administrators?
Yes.
At school sites as well as our district office?
Yes, but we really do ask that the principals as well as the APs and the program specialists, they're the ones that really ask them to fill out that survey. And that's a part of the LCAP survey.
Okay. And so do we develop and create those questions, or are there suggestions from the state?
So those specific questions come from the state, and that's what we
Okay.
include in the survey for the administrators.
Got it. So there's a standardized assessment
Yes.
process. Got it. Okay. Thank you. It's good to see significant change and progress in all of those areas.
I was going to comment on that same slide because I look at things like engagement of teachers, and I think, students can't learn unless our teachers are engaged enough. So I like to see that is going up, that we've identified that. And it was interesting to see that when we looked at school climate, and I think this has been true every year, the students score lower than the parents feel that we're doing a better job than the students. So I'm wondering if our students aren't feeling as, connectedness has always been something that's very near and dear to my heart, because obviously we want our kids to feel connected in their school settings. So I know you've been making progress towards that, but
Right, and we see that. Yeah, and we see that definitely in our data, but we definitely notice that scores typically tend to be a little bit lower based on the student results versus the parent and family results, even though the questions are exactly the same for some of them. So
Yeah.
thank you for your work on this.
thank you.
I mean, I think we still are seeing upward progress in that, but it's definitely something I know as a board is a priority for us, right? Like to continue to working on that. And I feel like I've seen schools where there is amazing connectedness, engagement. Kids know they belong and are happy to be there every day, but it's not maybe all the case for all the kids. So we'll continue working on that. Okay, we're good. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and all the people that contributed to the survey to bring us this information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next presentation will be on the proposed ARC development at Fissler School. So I believe, Dr. Rob, are you kicking us off on that?
Yeah, I can start. I'm going to have Dr. Llewellyn
Okay.
up to the podium. Dr. Llewellyn's going to be presenting on this.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I messed up already. We're going to do public comments before we invite you up. I should have done that first. So thank you for that reminder. So we'll start with public comments and hear from the community about this, and then we will hear the presentation as our normal practice for order of our agenda. Okay, so I will give you the first two folks, and then I'll continue to list names. For my first speakers in the order in which I receive them, Linda Beecher will be our first speaker. You have, as a reminder, 3 minutes to share, and Jeremy will be keeping time. So when you hear the ding, 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 that means please wrap up your comments as quickly as possible. And then after Linda will be Katie O'Meara. Okay, so you can be prepared. Go ahead, Linda, thanks.
Good evening, President Hanchett, Interim Superintendent Dr. Hammond, members of the board and executive cabinet. My name is Linda Beecher, a proud assistant principal at Fissler School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the proposed Arts and Recreation Center. I have been at Fissler since the school opened 22 years ago. First as a teacher, now as an administrator. I have watched our school grow, enrollment increase, programs expand. I have also seen the facility needs that have existed since day one, which is why I strongly support this project. Fissler was originally designed as a K-6 school. During construction, the board decided to expand it to a K-8 campus to help relieve overcrowding at junior highs. That decision greatly benefited our community. However, our facilities were built for a much smaller footprint. Today, we serve nearly 900 students across 10 grade levels, which creates challenges for PE, large gatherings, and the arts. I fully support investment across all district schools. My purpose is not to compare Fissler to others or suggest that our needs are greater than anyone else's, but to explain why this project matters to our students. For over 20 years, we have operated without a space large enough for our school community to gather. An ARC would provide a central place for assemblies, performances, recognition ceremonies, celebrations, school-wide events that build connection and pride, which is what is dear to our heart at Fissler. It would also strengthen PE. Right now, to accommodate 10 grade levels, PE and recess compete for limited outdoor space. And rainy days often force PE into classrooms where opportunities for meaningful physical activity are really reduced. A dedicated indoor space would give students year-round opportunities for activity and wellness. Beyond athletics, the ARC would expand opportunities in the arts and academics. It would support concerts, performances, cultural events, speech and debate, exhibitions, and recognition events. These experiences help students build confidence, communication skills, creativity, and leadership. It would also support after-school athletics and give our students a place to practice, compete, and represent their school with pride. Just as importantly, it would serve as a home for the arts and academic expression. Whether on the court, a stage, behind a microphone, or presenting ideas to an audience, this facility would support all student pathways, giving them a voice and a place to shine. Most importantly, this is an investment in students today and for the future. It would create opportunities for connection, achievement, wellness, creativity, and school pride for years to come. I've seen what our students can do when given the right opportunities. This facility would align our spaces with the TK program we have become and provide the learning, performance, and gathering spaces our students deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Katrina or Katie O'Meara, and then after that will be Elizabeth Ellison.
Hi, my name is Katie O'Meara, and I'm a sixth grade teacher at Fissler School. I want to start by expressing gratitude to the Fullerton community for passing Measure N and to this board for the investment you've already made in our students. We know we're really fortunate here, and so we don't take that lightly. I'm here to speak on support of the ARC model and to share where the staff kind of stands with that. Over the past several months, our staff was given the opportunity to explore multiple options, the mini gym, the full gym, different art configurations, building locations, and potential NPR renovations. We asked questions, weighed pros and cons, and took the time to think carefully about what would best serve our students. The staff is grateful to have been included in the process. In the end, the staff survey spoke clearly. For the ARC, 23 rated it an excellent fit, 6 rated it a good fit, and 0 rated it a poor or terrible fit. Every single staff member who responded saw it as a good or excellent option for our school. By contrast, the full gym, even with the potential future NPR renovations being done, received 17 terrible or poor ratings. The mini gym with the future potential NPR renovations received 24 terrible or poor ratings. The ARC option serves all 900 of our students. It supports athletics, assemblies, student showcases, lunchtime activities, grade level plays, and school events, all in one thoughtfully designed space that includes a stage, integrated sound, and bathrooms. Our middle school and the school as a whole really need one large space that's always ready to go with integrated sound. The ARC is flexible by design, and flexibility is what a K-8 school needs most. Our school's identity matters here too. We are a STEM-focused K-8 school. While our students absolutely participate in sports, performing arts, and creative activities, those aren't our primary programming focus. And we have a wonderful arts-focused school elsewhere in our district for families who prioritize that. A building optimized for a single use, whether a full gym or a dedicated theater, makes sense for a school built around that identity. For us, a space that can flex across these purposes on any given day is simply a better fit for who we are. We also want to be honest about what we'd be giving up with the alternatives. Our NPR currently serves band, rainy day PE, testing groups, plays, and awards assemblies, sometimes on the same day. Converting it to a permanent theater setting would eliminate most of that versatility. We are grateful for our parent community and the perspectives they've brought. That engagement pushed us to fully explore every option. But after doing exactly that, thoughtfully, thoroughly, the staff landed in the same place. The ARC is the right fit for Fissler. We all want what's best for our students. We hope that you'll trust the staff who work alongside them every day. We ask that you approve the ARC as planned. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next is Elizabeth Ellison, and after that, Carrie Holbeck.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Ellison, and I have taught at Fissler School since it opened. As we all know, the fact that the bond measure passed is significant and rare. Voters made the decision to fund much-needed projects in Fullerton schools. The Fullerton community has put their trust in the hands of the district to do what is best for the students of the Fullerton School District, and it was determined that an ARC was what our junior highs, except for LV, which already has a gym and stage, and TK-8 schools need. Please understand that this recommendation was not made lightly, nor was it a decision that was forced upon our staff. Throughout this process, our principal and district leadership listened to staff voices and provided us with the opportunity to explore multiple possibilities for the future of Fissler. We thoughtfully examined the advantages and challenges of a mini gym, a full gymnasium, an arc without a stage that included a flexible use room, and even the potential for significant future renovations to the NPR. We asked questions, discussed concerns, and considered how each option would best serve students for years to come. After that exploration, the overwhelming consensus among our staff was that the ARC provides the greatest benefit and the most opportunities for our students. We arrived at this conclusion because we believe it is the best fit for Fissler's unique needs. At this point in time, Nicholas Junior High has received an ARC, and the impact is positive and significant. Parks Junior High has an ARC, and the staff and community are very grateful. Robert C. Fissler School, a school with a student population that often nears 900 students, has anxiously and enthusiastically anticipated the construction of their ARC. The opportunity to have such a space for students TK through 8th grade is exciting, it's innovative, and it meets several needs. From my perspective, here is just the beginning of what an ARC would make possible for all students at Robert C. Fissler School. An appropriate quality space to practice basketball and volleyball without the threat of cancellation due to heat advisories or rainy days. This is something I've experienced firsthand as a volleyball and basketball coach. Currently, our volleyball and basketball teams make do with outdoor courts that slope at an angle, making our facility unfit to host any outdoor basketball games that are a part of our intramural sports program. Fissler 6th through 8th grade students are particularly eager to compete in basketball and volleyball seasons, but always having to travel for basketball games, sometimes as far as the Red Cross in Anaheim, is challenging. Being the home team at a location that isn't yours doesn't exactly encourage school spirit, and it doesn't give our community convenient access to come out and support our athletes who work hard and would appreciate the opportunity to be the home team at their actual school site. An ARC on Fissler's campus would change that. And with 9 seconds left, we could do K-pop practice, have much better assemblies that accommodate people comfortably, and I hope you take that into consideration. So much more to say.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Carrie, you're next, and then after Carrie will be Glenn Bigstead.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Hollebeck, and I am a proud 5th grade and stage teacher at Fissler School. I'm here tonight to express my support for the ARC project as it was originally designed and approved. First, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunities that Measure N provides our students and school. The Fullerton community made a significant investment in public education, and we are fortunate to have the opportunity to enhance our campus in ways that will benefit generations of students. As educators, our focus is always on what is best for students. The ARC represents an opportunity to support students academically, socially, physically, and creatively. I have had the opportunity to visit the ARC building on the Parks campus and see firsthand its potential. I was impressed by how the space supports athletics, performing arts, assemblies, and student activities all within one facility. Seeing it in person helped me envision the many ways our own students could benefit from a similar space. With both a stage and basketball court, the ARC would provide a flexible space for athletics, performing arts, assemblies, student showcases, lunchtime activities, school events, and community gatherings. As a stage teacher, I know how valuable performance opportunities are for building confidence, creativity, and connection among students. Over the past several months, staff members have thoughtfully explored multiple options and carefully considered the pros and cons of each. I am also grateful to our parent community for sharing their perspectives, which helped ensure that all viewpoints were considered throughout the process. While there may be differing opinions about the project, I believe we all share the same goal: providing the best possible opportunities for Fissler students. From my perspective, the original design strikes the best balance and offers the greatest benefit to the greatest number of students. I respectfully ask the board to remain committed to the project, preserve its key features, including the stage and basketball court, and move forward according to the original timeline. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your continued commitment to our students.
Thank you, Carrie. Glenn, you're up next, and after Glenn will be Donna Kim, and then Kelly Talbot will be our last speaker on my list.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Gigstead. I'm not here tonight to advocate for a building. I won't argue bleacher counts or square footage or the difference between a stage built for putting on performances and a theater built for educating kids in the performing arts. I'm here about one thing only: community engagement on the largest building Fistler will ever construct, one that will shape what's possible for our students for the next 50 years. I could tell you that the engagement on this project has been close to zero, but the truth is worse. Over several meetings, this community told the district clearly that the current ARC design does not match the vision we hold for our school's future. Dr. Coughlin heard that clearly. On a call with me, he admitted that he was surprised by the level of resistance at the January meeting from parents. I conveyed how strongly this community wants meaningful input on the direction of this building, and he assured me nothing would move until July. Instead, the plan went to the new superintendent in May, to this board a week later, and last week, a single, hastily arranged, sparsely attended meeting at the school where the few parents who came were told the ARC design was essentially finished, and that input now might influence amenities and colors. That is not engagement, that is notification. And the teachers fared no better. The full extent of their opportunity to evaluate the alternatives was a single staff meeting, about 45 minutes in length, at the end of the school year. That is what this entire decision now rests on: one meeting, one survey, and a community told it's too late. Dr. Hammett, I was at the park's grand opening. You stood up and thanked the Fullerton community for approving this bond and paying for these school improvements, and you were right to do so. But then when the same community steps forward and says, we'd like a fuller conversation about this investment in our children's school, the answer has been, no thank you. And I'll be candid about how these concerns have met with me. Rather than engage them, the district has raised the specter of delay, warning that if we don't accept the ARC as proposed, we risk a 3-year setback or getting nothing at all. And the response has turned personal, aimed at me rather than at the substance of what I've raised. That should tell you something, not about me, but about how this process treats the people it exists to serve. And this truly isn't about me. When a few of us showed roughly 50 parents the design options side by side, they responded with a near unanimous preference for an alternative to the ARC. That side-by-side comparison was not presented to the teachers. I'm not raising that to argue for one design or over the other. I'm raising it because it proves the point. When this community is actually shown the choices and asked, it has a clear view and has not been asked. So let me close with leadership. Doing the right thing when it's hard is what leadership is, and doing the right thing, especially when it's hard, is what leadership is. So I'm asking that tonight we hold every option to the same standard and do what's right and have a real community meeting that involves all the stakeholders for this very important investment in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Donna, you're up next.
Hi, good evening. I'm a Fistler parent. I've been at Fistler for 9 years. I've got 4 kids at the school site, one who's a newly graduated 8th grader going into 9th grade. My youngest is incoming 2nd grade, and so I will be there for a very long time. I'm also a former PTSA president, and I'm here to speak about just the excitement and the anticipation for the ARC for our school. My 3 of my 4 children play basketball, and this is a project that has been longly, anticipated and talked about in our household, and I think would be a wonderful addition to our school site. Like many of the former comments from our teachers, we need a flex space for our school, a school site of 900. Right now, any school-wide event takes place on the outside external lake area, which the students have to sit, and on hot days the ground gets very hot, and it's really contingent on weather, and the audio, it just is unable to stretch the whole span of the lake. And so having a space that all of our students can come into and use for grade level plays and sports activities, and having that flexibility to move large groups of students on our campus, I think is needed. I also wanted to speak about just on behalf of the numerous parents and parts of the community I've spoken to. I am a resident of Amherst Heights. we trust our teachers. We trust Dr. Llewellyn to be able to engage with our students, our faculty, and our community in this conversation. We also are understanding of the process that the Fullerton District embarks on when engaging in a large project much like this. And so I want to share as a parent that we trust our teachers, we entrust our kids with them every day, and we trust them in this process to also know what is best for our students, our school site, what the needs are, because we aren't with our students every single day on campus and moving large bodies of students around. And so I just wanted to state that as well. And as an Amherst Heights resident, I think that having a community or a building like this that the school site can really benefit from is not only a huge addition to Fissler School, but also it would be a huge asset to our community as well. And so I appreciate the ability to be able to engage with the district on future conversations around, I saw in the presentation, the deck, possibly, what goes inside, what it looks like, and where we can as a community to be able to engage and partner with the district in that way would be greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Kelly Talbot is our last speaker on my list. Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Good evening, board, and Dr. Hammett and everybody here. Fissler families, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking and sharing your thoughts as well. I wanted to share my gratitude, first of all, to just all of the voters who passed Measure N. I am aware, especially now I'm teaching summer school, that our schools all have varying needs. And so we appreciate you considering this opportunity for Fissler and know that you have tough decisions to make. But thank you so much. And I'm just thankful to our voters to support education. I am a kindergarten teacher at Fissler School, and I work with young kids all day. And I wanted to share how the art could positively impact school learning and our experiences at Fissler. As many of the teachers spoke, in kindergarten we hold 2 grade level performances. Our values in kindergarten is we do it collectively, as we have 3 kindergarten classes, so we have close to 90 students up on stage. So hearing about the new size of this stage is just really exciting to have our young kids up there on stage, able to move their bodies in all their glory and sing out for their families. So that's very exciting. But kindergarten is just one of the grade levels. There's grade levels doing performances throughout the whole year. So all the way from TK to 5th. So as you can imagine, our NPR is booked with rehearsals and performances and all of the other events that everybody spoke of. Dance, all the arts dance, K-pop dance, PTSA meetings, foundation meetings. It's a busy place. So having just a flexibility, I think that was the word that I heard a lot of people using today, is much needed at our school. I think one of the things that it would provide is just give us a little bit more creativity in the spaces that we do have as well. At NPR, I think of special events that we hold in kindergarten. We have Teddy Bear Picnic and lots of other different things, and to be able to come together in one space as a grade level, I can envision us using our current NPR now that it would be available. I also wanted to share that with 10 grade levels on one campus and having designated space matters. When I take my kindergartners out to PE, they sit on spots on the basketball courts. So our 2nd and 3rd graders stop their play and move to a different area very kindly. But there's not a lot of space out there. And then our kindergarten or our PE teacher is trying to get the attention of all those kindergartners. So just giving that flexibility of another room would be most great. And that's not everything I got to, but thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Talbot. Okay, that concludes our public comment on this matter. So we will have presentations starting with Dr. Llewellyn on this. Thank you.
And while Dr. Llewellyn comes up to the podium, I'd just like to say a couple things about why we're here tonight, how we got to this place. We're here tonight. Remember, Measure N passed $262 million. The first draw of money was $49 million. We've been doing projects, completing the 2 ARCs, doing a lot of playgrounds, putting in some portable classrooms, marquees. We're now entering the next phase, which is $71 million for the next draw. And based on surveys that we did when we were thinking about Measure N and our facility needs, conversations that we've had with sites, plan was always to put some sort of ARC at Fissler. And so as we entered into and shared this with the board, that the plan was to build an ARC at Fissler. Originally, it was going to be a mini gym, correct. And then with the 2 gyms, ARCs that went in at Nicholas and Parks, and we looked at it, and the value that you get by having the stage, instead of 100 by 100, a mini is 100 by 80, and we'll share all of that. It was, for a little bit more money, you got that stage, and we saw the benefit on that. And so as we were getting ready to proceed, we worked with Principal Llewellyn, had conversations with her. We had worked with previous administration at Fissler, and so we did have a meeting in January where we met. We invited parents to that meeting, and there were a few parents that came, and I actually thought, and I've said this to some people, I thought we were just sharing what the next steps were going to be, that we were going to be building an ARC, and at that meeting it was brought out that there was some concern. Is this really the best for Fissler? Is this really what we want to do? And so we didn't just say, we're moving forward, thank you for your concern, but we're moving forward. We hit the pause button, and for the last 5 months have been working and worked with Glenn and gathering input and taking a deeper dive back into surveys with the staff. We did kind of more of an informal survey with them, and then we did a more formal survey with them, and we'll share those results. And based on that, shared with the board, these are kind of the projects we're thinking about for the next draw. And if there's any concern about any of the projects, then we'll pull that and we'll bring it to a board meeting here and do a presentation. So we're not voting on this item tonight. It's just a presentation to give the board an opportunity to hear from us, to give the board in an open session to ask us questions about the ARC, and to give parents an opportunity and staff to come and express their support or concern. And so the presentation that Dr. Llewellyn is going to go over is the presentation that we shared with the staff. And it was about the second to last week. Was it the last week of school or the second to last week? And so we needed to make sure we got that staff and get their input from them to really kind of confirm what we were basing it. Originally we thought, yes, we're moving forward with an ARC, but I wanted to, measure twice, cut once. Didn't want to just proceed until we got that full information. So what you're going to see with this presentation, with the exception of the last few slides, which deal with the survey results and also an architect possible locations for this, that hasn't been determined yet. This is the presentation that was shared with the staff. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Llewellyn now, and it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening, President Hanchett, Board of Trustee members, our interim superintendent, Dr. Hammett, and of course, our executive cabinet. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Caroline Llewellyn. I am the proud principal of Fissler. And tonight, yes, we're going to go over our journey, some of the discussions of the ARC, and how we are at this point with our recommendation. What is neat is that as we go through this, it is just more, it's not about buildings or footprints, but it is truly about us being able to put our students' needs first and foremost, and to be able to take in some different input from our stakeholders to be able to derive at our next steps and our next recommendations. So let's see, this is my slide button.
Yes, all right. So first of all, I want to start off with our Fissler vision. This is our vision at Fissler. Many of you know us to be a STEM technology school, but it's important that we center ourselves. And the way that our vision starts is the Fissler school community comes together based upon a vision to develop students into the innovators of today. So my very favorite part about this is the way that it starts. The Fissler school community comes together. And that is truly what this process has done, what it continues to do. And just like a family, when we come together, it isn't always met with like perfect agreements, but it is still a community working towards a unified goal. So, our vision is the most important part, and to keep that at the forefront of my mind. So about 2 weeks ago, I went on a little family vacation, and I am one of 4 kids, so I have 3 siblings. And when we got together, we decided to have our family vacation in San Diego. My dad is in a rehabilitation center, so we wanted to be close to him. So we had a whole group, all the nieces and nephews and cousins, everybody was together. So we were 20 people, minus my dad, 19 people. And amongst my siblings, so I was a Burke, and we have 2 entrepreneurs, 1 pastor, and me, a principal. So lots of chiefs and not a lot of listeners, but lots of ideas. And the thing that really brings us together, of course, is family, our kids, and we had a problem one day. We wanted to decide what to do with our kids. So we wanted to build memories, experiences, and we were debating whether we go to a Padres game or whether we stay by the pool. So we had intense debates, intense, where we were looking up UV index levels of trying to find peer-reviewed journal articles on where you're most likely to get sunburnt at the pool or a baseball game, looking up shade structure, how the shade will move with the different seats, the prices of seats. It went on and on and on. We probably spent a longer time debating than we would have at a baseball game, which is a long time. So at the end of the day, though, we wanted just what was best for our kids. We wanted the best experiences, the best outcomes. We wanted to bring in all the data, all the information, and we wanted to be heard so that we can create experiences for our kids. So that made me giggle in the sense that I love what I do as a principal, because I feel like even the example of us building a building here at Fissler, it is just that. We are a community of all human beings with different ideas and input, and just striving to do what's best for our kids and wanting to give them the best experiences possible. So I'm fortunate and happy to be here because we are all here with that same focus of our Fissler students who we love so much. Okay. Woo-hoo. It's my first time with this guy. Okay, so Dr. Coughlin went over a little bit of the project history, how we had first envisioned a mini gym and then got upgraded to an ARC. We did start with presenting the concept of that upgrade of the ARC to the staff back in the fall, November, December time. So we had some conversations there. And then we started with a parent input meeting in January. Through that meeting, we did take a moment of pause because we started to hear input in regards to, hey, is this the best design? Could we explore some space that we already have at Fissler, looking at maybe revamping some of those buildings there and seeing what that could look like? So we did take a moment of pause there, and through that, we did continue our conversations with the staff and as well as with some parent input, and to be able to come up with various options. We at first looked at the arc of, instead of a stage, could we do a flexible use room? So that could be maybe like a K-pop room or an instrument room, and looking at the pros and cons there. But through that process, our staff really noted that, a stage brings something. Like when you step on stage, you are in front of others. You are taking risks. You are excited. You're nervous. You're getting your courage. And just that elevation kind of gives you a little extra pizzazz. So that was something they did want to keep when we looked at the arc configuration. If we move forward with that, they did like the stage to bring on that element and to be able to have a larger a performance in front of a larger audience. So, and then we continued, we did re-examine, and I'll show you some of the slides from our meeting in May with the staff. And then last week, we had a meeting with the community as well. Retro. Okay, here we go.
So at our staff meeting in May, so by this time we've kind of really narrowed down, like what are our viable options now? We've had some conversations. We know if we're going forward with the ARC, it's the ARC with the stage, but what else is out there and what are our viable options? So option number one was, as we know it, the ARC, the Art Recreation Center. And we were able just to look at some of the current pictures, Nicholas being the most completed at that time. And we looked at the floor plan, what that could look like in the ARC stage, as well as the restroom. So many of us are familiar with the ARC concept, so nothing should be new here. It should just be a representation of what is currently at Parks and/or Nicholas. So here we explored what the ARC would include as being proposed. So we have what could be volleyball courts. We could do 2 smaller basketball courts or 1 larger basketball courts. We would have bleachers and lighting and sound, as well as the stage being able to have a larger capacity. Our next option for us to consider with the Fissler staff was looking at a full-size gym, which aesthetically from the outside could look the same. It would look similar to the ARC, the same 100 by 100. From that, with the full design gym, when we're considering this, some of the benefits would be that we would have more bleacher seating. So that would be very beneficial. So making sure that we spoke to that, and that we have a utility room, but our storage room, but losing restroom, sound, kind of that theater sound booth in the stage component. So with this, there's definitely some pros and some cons. We did want to be able to help the staff see that we could still have some performances, some student performances. You flip it a bit where the audience is in the what are these called? Bleachers. That they are in the bleachers and then the people performing down below. So that we wanted to just help them explore that there are options to be able to have some performances, even without a stage, that could be possible. With the full-size, full gym, these are the options that we did present to our staff. And just noting that, again, we have more seating. We have those bleachers on both sides. That would be convenient. We're able to have 2 full-size basketball courts if we put all the bleachers up. So that would be helpful in certain regards. And then with the pros, you know, there were some cons. Again, no restrooms, audiovisual, or stage. So, so we were able to just investigate what this could look like for us at Fissler. And option number 3. Option number 3 is the mini gym. And part of bringing this back was throughout our original investigations, a lot of our teachers did speak voice to making sure that we're intentional about location and not losing a lot of green space at Fissler. We love just the outdoor nature and being able to have a peaceful and calm environment. So the mini gym would provide a smaller footprint if that was something that we wanted to explore. And then again, just helping everyone understand what would be included in that mini gym size. We also wanted to dream big, you know, with some of our parents had mentioned, hey, if we put in a regular size gym, the full-size gym, or a mini gym, we could always press pause, or maybe later when there's money available, do some major renovations to the NPR. We could dream big in that sense. So we wanted to make sure that we included this as part of the presentation as a possibility. And so one suggestion of a full renovation look would be has anybody, you guys have all been to our NPR, you've seen our NPR. So it is that unique design. And so this would be one idea that could potentially be in the NPR if we chose to go with just a gym design, and where it's more of like a theater in the round type of concept. So that was something that we weren't promising right now with bond money, but just an idea of later renovations if we decided to go with just like an athletic build for that new building. So the results from the staff survey were pretty clear, and something that as the principal of Fissler I knew just in conversations, hearing staff talk about their excitement about the ARC, or having colleagues over at Nicholas and our parks and their excitement. So, but we didn't have the exact raw data. So it was nice to be able to pause, take a survey, and to get some more informational data. And from that, as you can see, we did have 100% of our staff felt as though the ARC building, as it is currently designed at parks as well as in Nicholas, is a good fit and or an excellent fit. Now, possible locations. So this was neat. Last week, we were able to meet with some of our community members. And from that meeting, as we were talking about the ARC design, it was brought up at that time that, like, hey, did we think about some traffic possibilities? And there could be maybe an impact if it's here and an impact if it's there. So we were able to go back to the drawing board and collect some more possible options that we are going to be presenting, and making sure that we do that with multiple stakeholders as well. But through this, so I'll take you through some possible different designs, and then I'll tell you which one our teachers really did like, but we're going to continue this process of exploring locations. So we do have a couple locations that will be available. One is, if you see, it's right up here in the new blue building. And with this, this helps maximize our green space. So we have a lot of grass available. We don't have to tear up the track. And it is, if you can see, we have a path of travel straight to the parking lot. This is one that is similar in design, but it does move our library. Then the library would take up some grass, but that is another option as well. And the library is a newer building, so I know that would be a little harder to see that library be moved as well. This is option number 3, and this one is right in the center of campus. It is close to a gate. There's an exterior gate there, and then we would have to move basketball courts as well as handball courts to create that space. Option number 4, this was what the staff did prefer, and this was originally the design that was introduced to our community last week, but from the input from the community, them asking for some more options, that's why we're seeing more options today, and then we're going to take a pause, and if we move forward with the ARC project, then we would explore the options with that with stakeholder group as well. So this was, during the staff meeting, the preference of where the teachers and staff would like the building. And this is further in the corner behind our L building, which would require us to relocate and move the track. In this particular design, the track would be a little bit larger. So that would help us kind of count our miles a bit better with a 1/4 track. Right now it's, I think, 7.2 something laps to be able to make a mile. So you have to be really, really good about your counting as you whip around there. So we don't have a recommendation on location at this time. So our proposed next steps is that from the voice of the staff, we would, and as the principal of Fissler, we would like to move forward with the ARC project. However, we do want to take a pause after that and to be able to collect multiple stakeholders for us to be able to include our parents, community members, staff, as well as students. Inside this committee, we would want to provide feedback on inside aesthetics, outside aesthetics, maybe window size. We had some great input from our community meeting about the way that the curtains need to be, so you have a backstage and you can go from left stage to right stage. And then even we had some input about, is the sound booth the most appropriate placement in the corner? Should it be in the middle? And then you can split bleachers. So those are the different areas of feedback, and I'm sure many more areas that we would like to be able to make sure that we have our collective voices on. Even as we looked at the locations, it was quick, but some of them included an outdoor theatron and some did not. So those would be some of the areas of conversations, as well as locations and being able to collaborate with our HOA to take into consideration traffic flow and what impact that could be to the community as well.
So, so the one last thing that I do want to say before we get to questions is my family and my siblings, we're all still friends and we all still like each other, even though we didn't all get to go to the Padres game. But with a variety of kids, my oldest is the oldest of all of the cousins. He's 18, and it goes all the way down to we have a 2-year-old. So with our whole gaggle and crew, everybody was extremely happy at the pool, and they were able to build memories. We were able to move past our differences, and even though like my phone wouldn't get the peer-reviewed journal articles fast enough that I was trying to quote, but I just want to thank and just know from the bottom of my heart, I love all of the voices. I love the happy and the sad. I love the highs and the lows. I love being the principal of Fissler, and I'm very hopeful and encouraged that we can move forward together in unison, being able to take the next steps for our bright future and to be able to work together to make this the best arc possible. But thank you. Okay, any questions? Yes.
I have a few.
Thank you, Dr. Llewellyn. Yes. Miguel, you want to start us off?
Probably more a Rob question.
Okay.
As we are thinking about capital improvement projects, having a committee, I always think about if we push down the line, the cost of labor goes up, the cost of materials can go up. How much are we earmarking for this project?
We're at about $14 million.
In today's dollars?
Correct.
Okay. So $14 million in today's dollars. And when we look at the different options between 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're talking about potentially moving a library, potentially moving a field. Is that also included in the 14 million, or is that just in the ARC cost?
The ARC would be the 14 million. Moving the track, could be some other funds available. That track was put in about 8 years ago, and tracks do have a lifespan of about 10 years. So we do have some developer fee money and some different ones we can look at. That would be could be $500,000.
So
that would be outside
of Measure N.
Correct. Moving a library would not. That would not be in there.
Okay. So potentially in all of these options, there could be additional monies outside of 14 million that this whole project would.
There could.
Correct. Okay. The other question that I had was in terms of I'm curious, renderings, architectural drawings, DSA, all of the things that we've done for Nicholas and Parks. I am assuming that this blueprint and all of these architectural specs is almost like a copy paste, right? So we wouldn't have to spend more money in redesigning a new space. That is, if we did do that, we'd have to add additional cost, right, outside of the 14 million.
So the ARCs themselves are like they have DSA approved plans. I mean, it's kind of a set plan. Where the architect fees really come in is with the outside of it. I mean, you've got path of travel, the hardscape, and not all the schools are the same. And so it could be the same cost architecturally, might even be a little bit more. When we did this was 3 years ago, so costs go up. But there is some benefit to this would be the third one we're building. So there were some things that were learned on the inside that can help us moving forward.
So
on the inside, outside, there's always some, it's a different site, different elevations.
So one could say for the community that's looking at Measure N funds, earmark potentially 14 million. There might be additional funding needed to move things around depending on what the school site decides or the community decides in terms of option 1 through 4. And then if we're even talking about not going with the ARC, there is potential for different costs associated with like mini gym architectural drawings. Is that a separate cost, or is it going to be cheaper? I'm just trying to really look at, if we...
I don't know if the cost would be to do the large scale without a stage. I don't know if the architect plans would be that much different.
Okay.
One of the things we're looking at, we used the same architect for Parks and Nicholas. We are looking at actually
and then have the there be weigh in on aesthetics inside and outside and all of these other things that are needed for the community. Potentially, could that delay the project and that cost would escalate? How would we kind of think through that in terms of project mitigation and risk for the
It's actually quite normal in the process to put together committees to look at, okay, we're going with this design. Let's say it's going to be the arc with the stage, but now there's some things to talk about, like what does the outside look like? What are colors? What is the mural? The bleachers, bleacher colors. Do we put decals on the bleachers? They're not high ticket, items. They're things that are already built into that price. Not a lot of major upgrades that, now we're going to put in gold bleachers or anything like that, but we're going to put in, so it's quite natural, quite common to actually have committees of parents, staff, students, and in this case, because Fissler is unique. It is a tight community over there. It's one of our few communities that has an HOA. And so we want to be mindful of that and provide some voice on that of what things look like and colors and things like that. So that's where we would include the community in that process. Again, this committee would probably be comprised of maybe 12 to 20 people. You start getting a committee larger than that, and you're back to Padres or the swimming pool. I mean, it's just going to be tough.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I just collecting insight. I have no.
These great questions.
But these are all the things I want us as a group and the community that is watching that voted for this measure. Also think about the drawbacks and plus pros and cons as we look at all of these decisions.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarez. Other questions from our board?
Sure. So I'd like to just discuss and provide my opinion on this, and then my suggestion is that we take a straw poll to see if we can provide board direction, because if I understand correctly, excuse me, there is no requested board action at this time, but right.
Right. There's no, we're just kind of looking for direction on, do we move forward? Because to move forward, if it is to move forward with an ARC, there's a lot of stuff that needs to come just to bring it to the board.
Right.
And so we're kind of looking for some direction on that.
So hypothetically, if this board unanimously decided we didn't want the ARC at all, you would have to do something very different than if we did not take a straw poll, providing you some kind of guidance, right?
Correct.
Right. So I'd like to hear the feedback from my fellow trustees, and then my recommendation would be to take a straw poll to provide board direction for the follow-on meeting. So up front, I think Fissler needs an ARC. That's where I stand. I don't think between a mini gym, an ARC, and a hollowed-out ARC that any of the other two options are the best options for Fissler. I think the 7th and 8th graders at Fissler deserve the same kind of experience that they would get going to a junior high. And so Fissler deserves an ARC. But one of the things that Ms. Beecher brought up is reminding me of some of the concerns that I had earlier, which is you can only make a building once, right? So your original design, you put it down, and as circumstances change or as opinions change, you want to make sure that you did everything possible to get the most perfectest building there, because things change. And so my concern here is that, unlike Ladera Vista or Parks or Nicholas, 7th, 8th grader junior highs, that a K-8 site is different and has different needs. It sounds like the staff did a thorough examination, but where I find a fault, if there is one, because Rob, I do appreciate the delicate balancing act that you're doing here, is that I find the third option of a hollowed out, what I'm calling a hollowed out ARC, to be kind of an illusory choice, right? The two real choices I see it that were presented to the staff is a mini gym or an ARC. And between those two options, I too would probably unanimously, 100% of the time, say ARC. And the reason I think the third choice of a hollowed out ARC is an illusory one is because there is so much more we can do with the inside of an ARC that staff might like better. So not the mini gym, not just a court or a hollowed out ARC, but other things that are possible with the space that could suit a variety of needs across K-8. And so my opinion would be that we should provide the cabinet direction from the board to go back and ask staff and parents to see what they would like inside the arc as a skeleton. So not between a mini gym or an arc, but an arc as a skeleton, as a structure, and what else could go inside that arc that would serve the most amount of students, or the highest number of students across the greatest number of needs. Does that make sense?
Yes, if I can add something. So when we presented to the staff, we presented the mini, the regular size arc with a stage, or the 100 by 100 building, which would have been bleachers on both sides. And thank you, Glenn, because Glenn created the AI pictures of what would it look like. You could do a performance on the floor and with that backdrop there. So you could still do performances. But what we heard from the staff was they liked the stage. The stage that Fissler has now in their multipurpose room is smaller than any elementary school stage that we have. When the space to do performances at Fissler, it takes, you can only get 2 grades in there a time. It takes all day to go through those presentations. And so what we heard from the staff is we gave them the 3 options. And I do even believe we talked about the idea of maybe instead of a stage, maybe in that area it was classroom space, and there was classroom here and classroom up top. That would be an additional cost. We would have to look at that. We didn't present pictures of that, but I know we talked about that. And it came back to, we like the stage. We want to have a stage where kids can perform on. That's what it came back to. It didn't mean that the future, the footprint of the existing MPR, to even make that larger, even it's such a cool idea, this theater in the round. I mean, I love AI. I like Glenn. I liked how it looked. It's still, you're going to be limited on the number of students that can go in there, and staff saw that. And so the staff said, we'd like this stage. I mean,
Understood.
That's what I would.
I've only gone to one Annie production at that NPR, but so I've only had to sit through the cramped space one time. I can only imagine the frustration from the staff and the parents having to sit through it year in, year out. But again, not a knock, right? The fault I have in the process is when presented with 3 choices, when 2 are obviously inferior to 1, that is an illusory choice. What my proposed action as board is to offer staff and the community to invert that, to give you ideas that you can incorporate as part of a choice. And if the decision, again, we're relying on you to balance all the diverse voices and opinions in here to come up with one staff recommendation. If you come back after that and say, look, how many times do I gotta tell you it's gotta be the ARC, then okay, that's the final staff recommendation. But I do think that to get there before we cut, before we pour concrete, let's see if we can't get to better without unduly delaying the project. I think we can have our cake and eat it too. And that would be my proposed action from this board.
James, I'm curious though, what ideas would you have besides a stage or classroom? What else would you use with that box shape?
So I think the classroom option, again, I would use the term illusory, because when surveyed, that was not one of the 3 options, right? The 3 options were mini gym, ARC, or just a big gym inside the ARC skeleton, right? Incorporating classrooms. I've heard some folks talk about a maker's lab, maybe some lab space to go along with thematically with the Fissler culture. These were not formally presented as an option. But again, I am not trying to dictate the design. What I am trying to make sure is that the staff and the community give someone like Dr. Rob Coughlin all the inputs available for him to balance and come up with a final staff recommendation. And I think the 3 choices weren't as complete as they could be.
Dr. Llewellyn, did you hear some other ideas?
Yes. So what has been neat is we've started this conversation maybe November, December, when we first learned about, this upgrade of the ARC. And after our parent meeting in January, it was about March time that I worked with Dr. Coughlin, and we
came up with the first options to present to the staff. So we had a staff meeting, talked about the ARC design, and we again kind of centered ourselves on our vision being a STEM school. Would we want, instead of a stage, would it be in our best interest to have a flexible use space? That flexible use space we talked about could be K-pop, could be a STEM lab. So we looked at the outline and it was presented to them the same square, the same footprint where the stage is, remove the stage and the restroom, and that would be a flexible use space, and that we could determine what that would look like. So then we did do a survey from the staff, and at that time it was 79% wanted to move forward with the stage. And that's where the conversations really started about how important it is to give all students, whether you're in kindergarten or you're in 8th grade at Fissler, that opportunity to be on stage, to be able to be in front of an audience, to be able to have that courage, that confidence, those nerves to be able to perform and to do your best. And that's something that not all of our students really are able to have that opportunity. So the reason I say that is because then in May, when we went down, since we had already eliminated the flexible use space, that's why with that one gone, then we just stayed centered on the ARC as part of the different options. So that's why it wasn't presented as a fourth option at that time, because we already knew between those two who the winner was, if that makes sense.
So you've done this before. You've already done what is being recommended.
For the staff.
Right.
Bev, do you have further questions?
No. I was thinking we were just hearing a presentation, so I wasn't prepared to. So I'm listening.
I think, well, I know our staff are looking for direction. I have a couple questions I want to ask, but I will say, I think having a gym that holds up to 1,100 people without any bathrooms is just cruel. I do not recommend that. So the idea of just a box with no toilets, I think, is a really bad idea. I would not go for that. Looking through this, I guess I wanted to step back and ask the question, if you could remind us, I know you were not the principal at the time, but in 23, 24, when we were looking at exploring this Measure N, we did staff surveys, we did community surveys, we included parents in these conversations. Can you talk a little bit more, Dr. Coughlin, about what that input process looked like for both community and especially families, coming to the place where then the recommendation from the staff, the principal at the time, was for a mini gym at the time, right?
Right. In 2024, and this would have been prior to the passage of.
Yeah.
Because we did something really early on, even kind of 2023, but now it's 2024. Right. So in 2023, we sent some stuff out, but then we did in 2024 prior to the passage of the bond. Almost 70% of 154 Fissler parents surveyed indicated that a performing arts space was a high priority, that to have a space that's kind of performing arts.
Performing arts.
What was that percent?
70% of 154 parents. And by the way, that was the largest response we had of parents of any of the 20 schools. And we presented this to the board. It was all the different grades. This was the same survey where we heard from students, can you improve our restrooms? Yes. We really want our restroom improved, which is the next thing that we're doing with the $71 million is going back and modernizing and improving the restrooms. But so that was a pretty large, and then as did 70% of that at that time of the 38 Fissler staff said they would also want a performing arts space.
I think it's important for us to remember that process because while not all of our board was part of the board at that time, those of us that were here, it was over, a year that we were having these conversations, collecting feedback, input, not just from staff, and principals who know the school facilities really well, walking the facilities, checking on AC and plumbing and things like that, but really listening to the community and the students to see what was important. So to know 70% of the parents that responded at Fissler said performing arts, I think that's significant for helping us make these decisions. And then at some point we said, that we would move in 2024. We approved the mini gym when we said, this is why, when we sold it to the community, said, we want Measure N, this is what we're gonna do with it. Obviously knowing not everything would happen exactly, but that was our expectation. And then it switched to this ARC. What was the decision? Why was it like, let's just go for the bigger arc?
The difference in price from the mini to the larger one with the stage, it's a little over $1 million. If you didn't include the stage, it's about $1 million. And so for the value that you get for that $1 million of having this stage, we actually were seeing it with the construction at Nicholas and Parks and thought, this is kind of cool. And this would be a really good thing to have. And we have 7th and 8th graders at Fissler. We also have 7th and 8th graders at Beechwood. I'm just going to say this. The question comes up, well, is Beechwood going to get an ARC? And down the road, I hope they do get an ARC. They have a multi-purpose room that's one of our more modern ones. But right now at Beechwood, they have more pressing needs with 24 portable classrooms that need to be replaced. So again, this is a needs. We did needs assessment. We have facility needs. And so it was felt that this is something that Fissler needs. They need a stage. They need a performing arts area. This is, again, you can't, once that box is built, and I think Trustee Cho said it best, is that it's kind of hard to, after that, to add some stuff or to change it. When the Ladera Vista Gym went in some years ago, I think the total cost of that was about $3 million for that Ladera Vista Gym. So down the road, if we wait another 10, 15, 20 years, the price of things are just going to go up. And so that's when the decision was made, working with Principal Llewellyn to say, you know, let's just build a regular ARC. Let's do that. And so when we presented that in January, more is better. And so when I went into that meeting, I thought there's not going to be any, I mean, this is a great thing, right? I mean, you're getting the same size basketball court on a mini. Now you're getting a stage. This is a great thing. And however, there were some concerns.
Was that the meeting that
in January
Glenn referenced where there were about 50 parents present?
How many?
50 was the
50? 50?
Or was that, yeah?
No, there were not 50. There was
5?
Maybe 5 parents, maybe a little bit more than that. What I've shared with the board is that Glenn has shared with me that he has spoken. He has talked to probably between him and another parent. They've spoken with about maybe 50. This was as of a few weeks ago, 50 parents who had all expressed a concern that they don't want an ARC. And so that was conversations that he had with individuals.
Okay. Have any other schools, I know we committed to, as a board, even actually before I was on the board, there was a commitment to the ARC at our gyms at Nicholas and Parks. And then we, went for Measure N, we received the bond, and then that became part of the larger process of what we've been working on. Was there any level of this kind of community engagement beyond the needs assessment process at Nicholas or Parks to say, do you really want an ARC? Or was it simply the process that all the schools went through in the needs assessment leading up to Measure N?
It was with a needs assessment, and it was about equality, equity, and also equality, that all of our junior high school students should have a space that it's rare to find a junior high school that doesn't have a gymnasium or some large MPR space. And so under leadership of Dr. Pletka at that time and cabinet, and it's what we felt was what was needed. And we did hear that through the block parties that we did. You kind of put it out there, hey, what do you think about this if we did at a gym or an ARC, and teachers and staff. And what happened was when we went through that process, we had half the staff at that time was saying, well, is it going to be a gym? Is it going to be a building that's more of a gym than a performing arts theater, or a performing arts theater that also is a gym? And we said, and someone said it here best, there's flexible, you need that flexible space. We don't have the ability, we're not a high school, we don't have the ability to have a full-size performing arts theater with seats and also a gymnasium. So we have to be more flexible. And so it met our needs.
Okay. If the school decided that performing arts was not the main thing they wanted to do with the stage, could they reconfigure it, or could they bring in additional equipment to make it more like a workers lab, STEAM lab place to do more of that focus?
You're saying so you're saying after it was already built and then they modify it after? You probably,
But you would build an equipment for a lab. And so, I mean, really it's about the stuff inside the room, not necessarily the structure of the room.
yeah, I mean, I think if down the road they said, we don't need our stage anymore, we don't want a stage, we're going to pop some doors in the back, and now we're going to make this stage a classroom, they could do that, have a very high ceiling. Now, could they go up and do 2 stories? Anything could be done, and Scott here, I mean, you're inside the box. So down the road, what you do inside of your box, you could certainly, like you would at your house, you could tear stuff down. But the structure, the outside of this building, this is a building that's going to be here for 50 to 70 years. And where there's possibly not a need right now, or some people may say, why are we putting in a stage? 30 years from now, when somebody says, why isn't there a stage in here? It's might be a little more difficult to put the stage in after. I think it's probably easier to take it out if they see they don't need it.
Do we have any other questions? I'll just add, I know we're going to take a straw poll to determine next steps for moving forward for possible vote in July. I would say, I'm surprised that I didn't hear this more, but I really do believe one of the greatest values I hear about a TK through 8th school is the community that's built across ages and grades. And I do think it's an important thing that there's a space to have that for all the kids to experience the same message, the same amazing presentation, the same performance, to have an experience that's shared across grades, to build those relationships. I think that's a really important part and a value of why people send their kids to Fissler. So I'm excited about a space that will allow that to happen and not have 6 assemblies in a row to get this one message across to everybody. I think everybody will be grateful for that.
And
At this point, I guess what I would like to do then is straw poll. Do you want to do one?
Trustee Ann,
Has something to say.
Oh,
if I could just say one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, you might want to say something too, but again, in January, the first time I heard was there was some parent concern, and we pressed pause and we went back. If we were hearing from the staff, we don't want a stage. We do not want a stage. Why are you doing this? My recommendation would be, don't do a stage. But I was a site principal. I know the staff they know they're told the staff, thank you for your input, but we're going to do something else. So I just would like the board to consider that.
okay.
I just have one last point of input. So at Fissler, we do have another building that is our media center. And this was originally designed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of that maker space and could be that creative outlet. It has unfortunately turned more into a flexible use space of, meetings and being able to just get our nitty gritty day-to-day stuff done. All the arts dance, indoor PE, just all the must-dos, makeup pictures. So ideally, yes, being a STEM school, being a technology school, having another space like the ARC or, a new building, that would give us the opportunity to free that space up and to be able to utilize it to what it was originally designed as. Yes, so that would be a hope as well.
Because the greater need is a bigger space where more things can happen flexibly. Yes. Okay. Well, then what I will ask is if we can take an unofficial poll to see which of our board members are ready to move ahead to bring this back as a plan to move ahead and take a vote in July to move forward with an ARC at Fissler. Do you want to clarify? Is there anything you want to clarify on that, James?
Yeah, so for board direction, Bev, not knowing where you stand, it sounds like there are at least, maybe the third one here, but 2 options for the board direction. One is proceed as you had presented, right, for final board action in July. And my recommendation, which is to go back to staff and community members to come up with another option if they so choose. And so I would take some umbrage, sir, as saying that an overriding a staff recommendation. I think if you went back to them and said, never mind the gutted out ARC, right? Use your imagination. What would you put into the skeleton? And you're bro, ARC, okay? That continues to be your staff recommendation is how I would kind of rephrase that board direction. So as far as I see it, I see two options.
Question.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of the amount, and I think it is important to have, of course, stakeholder input, and having seen capital improvement projects in the public sector take years and months to actually get things to a certain place. Here's my concern. We ask that you go back and do this. We override the staff and we say, come up with a new plan, potentially. How much time is that going to take your office to do that, right? For one school that has had a facility since 2004, compared to other schools in our district that haven't had modernization since like the 80s. So I'm curious from like, the whole community passed this measure. We have schools that are in need in all parts of the city that haven't been modernized. And then we are asking staff of their opinion, which is to build an ARC, earmarking $13 million for this project. And then we're gonna, if we then ask you to go and reimagine this space and become an Imagineer, what is that gonna do to your office in terms of bandwidth?
Well, as far as my time, I mean, my time is your time, I guess.
But
what's going to happen is this: staff is not going to be back until August 10th. We would put meetings together that would be held in August. Could we bring something to the September board meeting? Possibly, but more than likely, it's going to be October. So it's just going to push the project farther back.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation, you're going to give me direction, and if I thought that the staff was going to come up with something different, I would be the first one to say, because I want to get it right, I would be the first one to say, yeah, let's do that, like we did from January to now. I don't feel that's going to happen. But again, if that's the direction of the board, that you would like to give me that direction, we can certainly go back and do that. But based on what I've seen, I don't think things are going to change.
So just to clarify, a straw vote, so we are not voting technically because it's not an agendized item to vote, correct? So what is the difference between a straw vote and a vote? I'm just concerned that we did not agendize this as a vote. It was a presentation. I'm ready. I don't want to be the one to stop everybody.
Right.
But technically, I don't want to do something that we're not able to do at our parliamentarian.
As president, can I see where we are at as far as agreement so that we can then give recommendation to the staff?
There's another thing that could happen too, is if you just want to, a board or a trustee can make a motion, right, to bring something back to the next meeting. If there's a second, we bring it back and you vote on it.
Yeah. So I'll just say what I'm hearing is James would like to have an alternate options presented to the board. I'm okay with moving forward in July and voting on the ARC with a stage as recommended by the staff. Bev, what's the direction for our staff?
I think where I'm at right now is, as we're all talking about this, is I do understand that our parents feel like they weren't involved in the process, right? I get that. And I know that being around for a while, a lot of times we will survey our parents, and our parents are busy, and our parents don't think it's a big, important thing. And so they kind of just, they're busy, right? We're all busy, and we kind of just leave it. Oh, I don't need to deal with that. And then when it comes knocking at your door, oh my gosh, I really should have paid attention, right? And I really should have said something. So I think that's kind of where I see this has started. I do feel very confident after hearing our staff today and hearing this presentation, that our staff were given an opportunity to say, hey, you have this room, can we make it into something else? And it sounds to me as though the stage is very important to them. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And so I am putting a lot of impact on our staff as well, not to discount our parents at all, because I truly, am a parent. I was one of those parents that was knocking on the doors way back before I was on the board because I felt like my voice wasn't being heard. So I get it. But I think that going back to something that we've kind of already been to, I don't know if I feel like we need to go there again. I think we're just going to go round in circles because I don't think we're going to come up with something that everyone is going to agree on right now. That's kind of where I'm at. So I would say thumbs up on going forward.
If I can offer something to the board, if we bring something in July, for the board to take a formal vote on this. And in July, the board says, no, we're not ready to vote on it. No, we don't. You take a vote and you say, no, we're not all in on an ARC. 3 vote no. Go back to the drawing board. At that time, the school isn't even back yet in July. So I don't think we've lost any time between now and July. I think that could take place in July. We could agendize the item and the board could vote. And if the board votes yes, we proceed. If they vote no, then we go back to the drawing board.
And
Is that an option?
July
July 20,
22nd.
27th.
Any family and community members that have great suggestions for additions and changes could also submit them. Where would they submit them if they had ideas?
Well, just to be clear, I don't think you're soliciting suggestions,
No.
right? Because in July, what's going to be presented is the ARC, right? And it sounds like I don't have the support, and so I would vote in favor of the ARC as presented in July. This was my chance, and the board has spoken. So I don't know if you want to officially register that as a straw poll, but I think
Okay.
I can see where this.
Miguel, we haven't heard from you. Do you have anything else you want to add? Would you like to proceed forward with the recommendations of our staff in bringing it back in July?
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Sure do.
Okay. So conclusion of this presentation as we will look to a final, more conclusive vote in July. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene in 5.
Okay, we're going to start.
Bev. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are going to be moving on to our consent agenda. One item we're missing Miguel. So I will, Dr. Coughlin, if I could make one addition to the previous conversation, can we also explore what it would look like to cost out a single stall bathroom as well? We talked about toilets. I think a single stall bathroom is important as we move forward with this arc, like all gender, all inclusive.
In addition to the 2 restrooms, the gender restrooms, 1 single stall restroom?
I do. Okay. I'd like to know what the cost would be. Yep, thanks. I'll start a GoFundMe. All right. We will now be moving on to our consent agenda. So let's take a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then we will have the opportunity to discuss items unless anyone would like to pull any of the consent items first.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I wanted to discuss item UU, not pull it, but there are several items that are thematically similar. So X, Y, Z, AA, BB, and CC, these are all around contracts for transportation with other parties. And I'd like to pull one of those for discussion, perhaps item X.
Item X, okay. We need a second to approve the consent agenda item, unless if you want to pull it, then we would approve the consent agenda item minus X.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll second.
And I will take my motion back and rephrase it. I would like to move that we approve the consent agenda pulling X.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, okay. Would anyone like any further discussion of the items before we then vote to approve as without X?
I did have some comments.
Okay.
I was happy to see that the Woodcrest principal was announced in our personnel report, right? I'm correct, right? In that, Soraya?
Can we share that with the public?
Yeah, and absolutely. So our principal, former Woodcrest principal, Chris Wilkins, will be the new principal at Commonwealth, and Soraya Ramos, who has been our interim principal at Woodcrest, will remain the principal there at Woodcrest.
I was in our personnel report. Rehire. I was happy to see that, as we go through March and we give out all the pink slips and we set everybody's life in turmoil, and then we come back in June and we bring them all back. So I was really happy to see a lot of our temporary staff being rehired. That was great. A lot of our newer teachers being able to bring them back in the next year. So I think that's awesome. EE, we are approving our Chef and Foundation with Healthy Schools. They've got a pre-apprentice program, and I think that's a really great way to bring in future nutrition services individuals who really are intentional with scratch cooking and intentional with nutrition for students. And I know that's not a new thing, but I think that's great. Bracken's Kitchen was on here. Just the partnership that we have with them, and them being able to help community come in and actually teach culinary and give people a vocation, I think is wonderful, and we get to be part of that. I think everything else I got. I was very happy to see our additional schools qualify for the ACES program for Hermosa Parks and Rolling Hills. So that would be 14 schools altogether for ACES, and being able to provide places for our students for after school enrichment, and really providing our youth that opportunity. So I just had those comments.
Okay, thanks. Miguel, do you have anything to add?
The only comment I have is I glad to see that we are approving the renewal for the MOU between FSD and West States Regional Carpenters for their construction curriculum. What that really means for the public is that that curriculum is aligning to pre-apprenticeship standards for our CTE pathway. So as we are investing in the work that we're doing at Nicholas, that curriculum allows students to have the opportunity for pre-apprenticeships, which means if they graduate, they are able to be fast-tracked into a high livable wage job that will pay over $28 an hour.
Yeah, good news for our kids and our staff. I also really appreciate that we are expanding our ACES program. So that means that at this point, every single school in Fullerton has free after school care programming at every single school, including all of our junior highs at this point. So that's really exciting. I was really excited to see our mariachi program continuing this year. It was very popular with the 3 schools of Raymond and Pack Drive and Nicholas Junior High. But I know it was an expensive item that it looks like our district is able to continue to support. And I think that shows a lot about our commitment both to this art form as well as the cultural heritage and opportunity it provides for our students. I'm excited that our Civilizations and Cultural Center at Fern Drive is expanding. We've had Roman and Greek culture, and now we're going to include Native American indigenous culture of the Tongva and Gabrielino people on loan with some artifacts from those communities that will be enjoyed by our students. And I want to also thank our partnership with the Richmond Center for Healthy Neighborhoods. I know that they have an ongoing relationship through Cal State Fullerton and St. Jude and with us. And so just recognizing the work that's ongoing there.
And I'd like to make a comment there as well. I really want to thank Edith Nuncy and her partnership working with Pathways and also with the St. Jude Clinic there, just to ensure that we were able to broker a deal that allows parking for the staff that support there and make sure that all of those 3 entities are able to serve everyone with sufficient parking. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we appreciate that partnership and the support it provides to all of our kids as well as their families there. So James, I will ask you to discuss some of the items that you were wanting to bring up, and then we will take a final vote on the consent agenda items minus the X.
So you want me to discuss item X now?
I was thinking the ones that you're going to approve, but you wanted to break.
Yeah, so I can certainly make the motion to approve the balance.
Okay, if you're ready.
So I'll
fine.
move to approve the balance other than X.
I'll second it. Oh, we've already done it. We've already approved in second. So we'll just vote then.
Vote?
So go ahead. So we'll vote to approve the consent item agendas minus X. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that passes, and then you can discuss item X for us.
Yeah, so for already approved items Y, Z, A, A, B, C, C, they're, I think, related to item X, which is basically, these issues are that we are contracting for bus support in addition to our employees that are bus drivers. And there is a need to do that because sometimes the requests for field trips all kind of stack up at the same time of day. And our employees are busy running routes and can't support. So I understand the need to provide contract buses. At the same time, however, we are also providing contract support for non-FSD organizations, some private schools, and I think I saw a couple months ago there was a church. And I think these issues are related, which is what should our bus program look like? How healthy do we want it? But a related issue is our PTAs and our foundations are fundraising, and they're fundraising often to pay for field trips and bus rides. And so, as I see it, these issues are all related. What I would love to see, I know we're going to get a budget presentation later, is a robust Fullerton School District run bus program where it's our own employees that are accountable to us, the cabinet, and this board, that we can provide the support to field trips in addition to running even more routes. My hope is that we eventually get there. My ask is that we take a moment to comprehensively look at this bus program. And I know, Bev, you're looking at me, that this is
I'm listening.
whether
It's my listening look.
this listening look, but
My husband.
I could easily see this being as part of a requested item at the end of the meeting, but because so many items were related to it, I thought this would be appropriate, that we take a comprehensive look to see the rates that we are charging organizations beyond FSD. Are they competitive? Are they where they should be? And if the answer is yes, okay, I'll buy it, right? But when was the last time we took a look at these rates compared to other districts, the charters themselves? Why are these organizations coming to us? I imagine it's because we're very competitive in terms of price. But also that feeds back into the transportation budget. And to take a look at how we can alleviate some of the burden on our parents that are trying to fundraise to pay for these very buses that we might be contracting out. And so looking for ideas, and that is my request.
Would the idea be to charge more for outside groups to use our buses and our services to then offset the cost of like optional field trips?
I believe that could be an option, yes.
So what is X is approving a new agreement between FSD and Transportation Charter Services to provide transportation for field trips. That's what X is. Yes. So are we gonna, I'm not sure why we're pulling X.
So I pulled X as the first in the list of items that I believe to be connected, which is we have several contracts that we are contracting out.
Give you time to talk about it.
Yes.
Got it.
And some contracts that are for
This is X is to approve up to $40,000 that we might spend as needed if the like science camp school needs to go and they need to be there, and so they have to leave at 8 a.m. and we've got kids still on a route, so we might pay up to $40,000 for this kind of conflicting bus routes.
So if we still make a motion to approve that contract.
Yes, I'm supportive of it.
Right. Okay. So I motion that we approve the new agreement, item X, approve the new agreement between FSD and Transportation Charter Services.
Before I cast my vote, Rob, is this something that your staff can do?
So if I'm hearing correctly, what you kind of want me to either come back to the board either in a communique item or...
Communique is fine.
Communique is fine. Basically talking about if we look at all of transportation as a whole, we have our homeschool routes, getting kids to and from school, but now we're talking about field trips, either internally that we do for FSD students or field trips that we provide for outside private schools.
Right.
And you want to know what are we collecting for all of those field trips? How much do schools pay for the field trips that they had to fundraise for or come out of their budgets? What are we charging the private schools? How much do we collect from them?
Right.
How do those rates compare to other school districts, what they're charging? Is there a benefit to, if we said we're not going to provide the services for, say, private schools, that might be an option. What happens to that? Are the benefits? Why are we doing it? I mean, why are we providing transportation? I think what you want to hear is, why are we providing transportation to private schools when we don't have enough transportation for our own?
Yeah, that's certainly one of the questions. But also, I think one of the central points that I was trying to convey is how do we alleviate the burden on parents that are struggling to fundraise right now? Because they're fundraising and they're paying for school buses and they look like our buses already, right? And like, what the heck is going on? So are there ways that we can reduce perhaps what we charge and make that up elsewhere, which is one of the ideas that was mentioned.
A higher rate for, it's kind of like a Facilitron structure.
We'll start to
higher rate for outsiders and then a lower cost.
There is a little higher rate for the outsiders, but could it be higher? And what would that generate? And also, what are schools paying? It's like the print shop. What are schools paying transportation? That if we could help alleviate that, then where does that money come from? It's either going to come from raising fees somewhere else or from the budget, but I think that's why it's said about a budget. So that would be a decision that, but I would want to give the board, what is this dollar amount?
Yes.
Are we talking $10,000, $100,000, $1 million? You need to have that information.
So technically, President, can we vote on this item and then come back as a future board item?
That's procedurally correct.
at the end?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what I was going to recommend.
So we'll approve item X from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I made the motion.
You made the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving item X? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then when we get to the end of our meeting and we have future agenda items, we will make sure this is logged for the next communique or subsequent communiques if it takes a little bit longer.
Right. What I would suggest is over the summertime, we would do a communique before the, Dr. Hammett, before the July board meeting.
That's correct.
So I think we could put it together then.
We'll start up the communiques again before the July meeting. That's correct.
Discussion action.
We will move on to our discussion action items, which is the first is A, to adopt the proposed local control and accountability plan for the 2026-2027 school year.
So, good evening. In February, you heard the LCAP presentation that included all of the data and the information regarding LCAP and the dashboard. Last week, we held a public hearing for our families regarding the LCAP, and tonight you heard the indicator presentation that must be presented the same day the LCAP is approved by the board. So at this time, I'm asking the board to approve the 2026-27 update for the LCAP for the Fullerton School District.
Okay, we have some questions before we're moving to approve. Go ahead, Trustee Miguel.
Dr. Brown, I'd love to get your perspective. I know that as part of adopting an LCAP, school districts may typically have implementation partners, consultants, or other type of services as it relates to LCAP. Do we have anything like that coming our way in terms of understanding any type of partnerships that we might be pursuing in terms of said LCAP? I'd love to understand from, LAUSD, there were a ton of community partners that would, each side of the city, right, would have their own implementation. And so I would love to know if we are, Anaheim Elementary, for example, partners with OCO. Santa Ana Unified partners with other areas, other nonprofits. And so I'm just curious, as we think about adopting this proposed LCAP, I'd love to know what items are we doing of potential partnerships for implementation or an understanding the LCAP for our communities of need, for our community schools, essentially.
So that's a good question. We do have quite a few community partners that are part of our LCAP process that our team can speak more about in terms of outside entities, because part of the LCAP process is our families, our principals, our teachers, our staff, stakeholders at large. We have been most recently speaking with OCO to partner with us as a district in terms of supporting our families and their voice in the community and being heard. We partner with FEF as well.
We also have our
All the arts, Champions for Learning.
Champions for Learning, which has quarterly meetings and is involved in our large Champions Conference. We have a very, very active DLAC.
Yes.
One of the most active DLACs of any district I've ever worked in, where we have quarterly meetings with representatives from each school. So we have a very large active DLAC, as well as our PTA. Our PTA is a very activated PTA as well here in the Fullerton community and the Fullerton Council. So we have a lot of community groups that we already work with. However, we are looking at other opportunities to see who else is out there that could potentially help and support and provide our community with more information and more ability to understand what makes up the components of the LCAP, and then how do they as a community have the ability to provide more input.
And I would assume that those items would be brought to the Board of Trustees if we decide to use a different implementation partner, any new partnerships that we embark on as it relates to the LCAP. It would be an MOU or a service agreement that all board members would have access to.
That's correct. We would bring any of that back to the board. So, and that any agreement we enter into, any partnerships brought to the board.
Do we have agreements or partnerships with All the Arts and Fullerton Education Foundation in that sense?
No, they're part of just the input process where they attend our meetings, but they're not part of the implementation and the writing and the trainings of parents.
Yeah, which is, I was able to attend a meeting that OCO did a presentation. Trustee Estrella and I both were part of that, where they presented some of the work that they've been doing in Anaheim and other communities, and really was about empowering parents to really understand their role and the opportunities, the ways to be prepared to engage in the LCAP process. It sounded really encouraging and something I would definitely want to support, but obviously, I think it's supportive. It's not necessarily changing our structure or our process as a board, but it's bringing in additional support for our families to be better equipped to do their job and be empowered to have a voice.
In that same sense, I know our PTAs, the whole focus of LCAP when it first started, PTA was very, very involved, and on their website has trainings for parents in different languages, and I know that they were instrumental in doing that work. That's interesting.
And I also want to say we do have a very strong and knowledgeable LCAP team that is made up of not just of Ed Services, but also IIS, business services, HR. So we don't have a problem going out to various groups to present information to our families. If we need to expand our reach, we're certainly willing to do that. So that way, if we need to go to the PTA meetings and do that, I mean, we already do it at DLAC, and but if we need to go to out to the constituents and meet them where they are, we can certainly do that. But I feel like we have a very strong group here that can make those connections with the family to help them better understand the resources and how the LCAP ties to the board goals, how it ties to the budget, how it ties to the end goal or the outcome, which is educating our students and making sure that they succeed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's always opportunities for our staff to go out and do a better job at, just communicating that out, right? It gets to the point where we did a lot at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it became this 175-page document. It was no longer easy to do that anymore. So now that it's a new cycle, right, and taking a look at that, maybe
Yes.
can kind of identify some, when we talked about healthy neighborhoods, I don't know if we go to that, go to their monthly meetings. They have monthly meetings, and really trying to find those other organizations that might bring parents and community members together to be able to provide this information to them. I know we had done that way, as they first implemented the LCAP way back when it was supposed to be user friendly. That was the purpose, is to make this plan something that stakeholders and parents could understand. Right? And that's why those first 4 pages are very important, because now that's what you use. But there was a lot of outreach, and there was a lot of going to where people were and being able to present that information. And, we have experts that, you guys know it better than anyone else, and it's a great way to be able to go and do that. So.
And I will just say the only reason why I'm asking, this is my first go and with LCAP here on this board, and different scenarios have been on the other side, but wanted to just understand our process, and as we engage with different community groups, I know there's implementation partners, technical assistance providers, et cetera, as we think about how we educate families, how we get them involved in the input process. And so I just wanted to get more context from your team, as I know you all are doing this, and it's very helpful for me as a board member as well.
Well, yeah, and the group that you not rattled off, but mentioned, those are all, FEF, Champions of Learning. I mean, those are all groups that are part of the LCAP committee, right? So I think that committee, and I guess a question would be is how was that committee established? Like, I know parents and then stakeholders, because they have a direct link as a parent or a community that supports our schools. That's what your foundations, right? That's why your foundations are there. But I think maybe even understanding how that comes in, like who is on that committee, you know, how many staff members, how many district, how many outside groups, and who are those outside groups, and how do we identify those outside groups? That might be interesting.
Okay.
Are we talking about the LCAP yet?
Yes. Thank you, Bev.
Sorry.
Well,
Listening
get it.
face today.
You can look at me that way too and be like, move it along, Miguel.
Well, I wasn't here last week for the presentation, but I do want to say just my comment that I really appreciated there was a lot more clarity and consistency, I think, around the goals and which activities contributed to that. I especially noticed it in LCAP goal number 2 around digital citizenship and online safety, which I think because it was introduced more recently as a board goal, it sort of showed up in lots of different places in the beginning, and now it's more clearly in LCAP goal 2 around our technology and digital citizenship. So I appreciate that. It seems like there was probably more clarity and guidance for our staff and our teachers and schools in developing this, and then putting things in the right bucket. So there's a little bit more clarity in that process. So thank you. Okay, so
I had some comments.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, because they presented it, but we didn't, you know.
Didn't discuss?
So didn't discuss it. So I did want to again thank Esther Sung, everybody who put all your time and effort into this again. I think I had just a couple of aha or takeaways that I wanted to make sure were just voiced. I think our goal number one as a board is high expectations for all students. As I look through this document, I go back to the best first learning, right? And really starting to pay attention and focus on literacy and math, and I really truly feel like professional development is really key, and I think we're doing a lot of that. I want to see, as we have resources, as we have our funds that we're using, when we talk about our professional development funds, our California Literacy Grant, being able to get that money again to be able to use that towards, really looking at professional development, literacy coaches, RTI, those are all things that are going to directly affect the student learning. And so I'm really quite excited about the fact that we're really not starting to focus, but really taking another look at, providing this to our students. PLCs, we've talked about PLCs, we've had PLCs forever, but it seems like sometimes they lose their focus. And so identifying that in the LCAP and really saying that we're going to put towards resources, towards our PLCs, and really taking a look at data and providing input and providing the interventions and the support where it's needed based on our data, and using those PLCs to be able to do that, to have our district office visiting and really, spending time and going out and intentionally making sure that our teachers are really looking at what's working and what's not working, and really giving that to them. So I know that as we look at our budget and we look at the funds, my input is just to make sure that we're really concentrating on professional development, as you are, and literacy and math coaches and RTI, because I think those are things that are going to make a difference with our students. Thank you. That's all I have. I move that we adopt the proposed local control accountability plan, LCAP, for 2026, 2027.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. It passes. Thank you very much. And then our final, not final.
Not final. Almost final.
Not the you're it. Okay, our next item will be our proposed 2026-27 budget. So
we already had that presentation, right?
Right. So last week we had the public hearing, and we had typically what we do at the first board meeting in June is we do the presentation, and then the second one is where the board approves the budget from the presentation the week before. The budget that we put together is based on the May revise. And so as the budget is adopted, hopefully by July 1, if there's any significant changes, we will bring those back to the board and we'll let you know. We have 45 days to do that. So that would be at the August board meeting that we would do that. And so what we're asking for tonight is to approve the proposed budget for the 26-27 school year for all funds.
I move that we adopt the proposed 2026-2027 budget, all funds.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion?
I just wanted to acknowledge Damien, Joanne, and
Yes.
And they're still here.
Tanya.
Damien and Joanne.
Thank you. I don't want to blow smoke, but best fiscal operations I have seen in a district. Like, just you all are impeccable. Impeccable.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I love you all. I really do. The whole team is so great. I get so excited with the budgets.
Well, I'm excited that we have we're operating a balanced budget, even with surplus. This is really great. While many districts are laying off folks, we are fiscally sound and we have a good prognosis for the next few years. So thank you for your hard work and keeping us on track. So all those in favor of approving this 26-27 budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We don't need to take a no vote, and it passes. Microphone wasn't on, sorry. We're going to be approving a MOU between the Fullerton School District and Fullerton Elementary Teachers Association for student behavior lead teachers for the 26-27 school year.
This is a renewal of an MOU we started last year with a new position. That is a classroom teacher that we call a student behavior lead teacher that really provides support to teachers either in the classroom with students who are having behavior or allowing that teacher to be substituted out and to go visit the student behavior lead teacher's classroom to get help with students who may be having some behavior difficulties. It worked very well, provided some great mentoring, and we're looking to continue that program into the next school year.
Okay. So all those I need a motion to adopt it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Alvarez. So all those in favor of adopting this MOU for the Student Behavior Lead Teacher Association, or lead teacher, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that passes 4-0. And then our next will be to adopt resolution number 2526-19, authorizing our district personnel to sign various documents by signature to be kept at the Orange County Schools for the Fullerton School District.
And so this is a resolution that anytime a new person comes on, who's a signer or leaves, we have to modify, amend this document. And so with new superintendent Gretchen Jensen coming July 1st, so we're making this effective July 1st. She's been added on there, and that's what this is about. So we'll have the approval to sign, enter into things.
Okay, do I have a resolution to adopt this motion?
So moved.
Okay, great. Second? Okay, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 2526-19, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, no opposed, and it passes. So then we'll go to adopt resolution number 2526-20, authorizing similarly the electronic approval of vendor claims for the Fullerton School District, including our districts 22, 40, and 48.
And not as many people on this one. This is Damien, Mike, and Joanne. So they are the
Our star team.
You guys have a lot of power. A lot of power.
The all-star team.
Okay. So
I move to adopt resolution 25/26-20.
okay.
Second.
Great. Okay, all those in favor of adopting this resolution 2526-20, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes 4-0. And then finally, we have the approval for a new committee on assignment recommendations for our 26-27 school year.
Every year, our district has need to offer as many classes and as many elective opportunities to students as we can. However, in some of our schools, we don't have teachers who have all of those different types of credentials. So for folks who have the abilities and have proven abilities to be able to teach another course area, this board has the ability to provide authorization for those individuals to be considered fully qualified and credentialed to teach those courses and those electives. So there's a variety. We tried to make sure they all get into one item so you can see, but you'll see at schools, for example, Fissler and Beechwood, where we're running a 7th and 8th grade program where we have a limited number of teachers, but we want to offer the maximum number of electives, the ability to be able to put more teachers into those electives, even though they don't hold the credentials, but they're qualified to teach them.
I move that we approve the new committee on assignment recommendations for the 26-27 school year.
I will second.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody, any nays? Okay, then it passes. Thank you so much. So we've come to almost the end where we've got our board member requests for future items. We've noted that James brought the request for a bus review. I will absolutely second that for us to look, as you took notes, Dr. Rob, on reviewing how we're spending money, charging and using our buses. Is there anything further notes, James, that you want to add to what Rob described to us? No? Okay. Any other future items from our trustees then?
This might be just a communique in the far distant future, so don't prioritize us. Don't prioritize us. Just would love to see if we have a recruitment dashboard of the current cohort of new teachers. And what I'm really trying to drill down on is experience level that we hired, as well as demographic data. And that's pretty much it. But again, you all have a lot of other things to prioritize.
That's
so,
new hires?
Yeah, the new hire.
Had that before.
Yeah, so basically data on our new hires, and yeah, if you could give us maybe until September, October, just so we can get them all started and get them oriented into their classrooms, that would be great.
But I think we've had that sort of demographic information before.
Yes, we do generally provide that. It has been provided in the past as part of the superintendent's evaluation, but we could definitely get that out in a communique once we get the year started. Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, then I think that brings us to the end. So hard to see above the glare. At 8:41, we will call this meeting adjourned, and we will meet again on Monday, July 27th.